What do you want? What are you looking for? Do you want a townhouse? Do you want a condominium? Are you looking at existing residential homes? Are you interested in new construction? We are going to go over a buyer's consultation. If you come and meet with me, whether it's in my office or we meet out somewhere at a coffee shop or whatever, you're telling me, hey, I want to buy a house. What do we have to do? I'm going to sit down with you. We're going to find out what exactly you need, what exactly you want. Sometimes those are two very different things, and then we'll decide how to proceed forward from there. So, without further ado, when we're sitting down, the first thing I'm going to ask you is, what do you want? What are you looking for? Do you want a townhouse? Do you want a condominium? Are you looking at existing residential homes? Are you interested in new construction? These are all things to consider, and they all have their pros and cons. Condos, townhouses have HOA fees attached to them. Some existing residential and new construction homes also have HOAs. I guarantee you're going to have one with a townhouse or a condo, and we'll talk about some of that. But you know, if it's simple for you and you say, oh, we're looking at existing residential houses, that's what we want. And whatever category of property, you know, if you're looking for acreage and horse properties and all that sort of thing, that's all here for you. If you're not from Florida and you're watching this video, from Tampa Bay, the Tampa Bay area encompasses a lot of turf. We've got everything down here: beach condos, horse property, acreage, whatever it is you're looking for, it's here if you're willing to spend the money. We're going to talk about it. We're going to figure out what exactly kind of property that you're looking for. I'm going to let you know right up front, I'm not going to sell you anything. I'm going to help you find what you want. When we go out looking, I'm not going to say, oh, look at that. Oh, you should do that. That's not me. That's not my job. My job is to help you get what you want. Next thing we're going to talk about is pre-approval. Do I need a pre-approval letter? Do I have to get pre-approved with a bank before we go looking at houses? Absolutely. Here's why. Two reasons. First of all, if we're in a competitive market and we go out and we find you your absolute dream house, it is perfect. Everything that you've ever wanted. Well, the problem is now I'm going to have a tough time making an offer because I don't have a pre-approval letter. Every seller is going to want to see a pre-approval letter or proof of funds if you're paying cash that states that you have the capability of buying this property before they'll even consider your offer. So I don't want you to lose out on a property. We go to get a pre-approval. It takes us, a day or two, and in the meantime, somebody else has put an offer in that they accept. Now you're upset with it. We're going to get you pre-approved. If you don't already have a lender, I can help you with all of that. A lot of folks are wondering, hey, how am I getting paid? That's a legit question now. With the NRA settlement and all of that that's come down, we're still waiting for the final version of that. At the moment, we're still operating under the old rules where the seller pays my commission. In the future, how is that going to work? Assuming everything goes through, they're going to split the commission. We will sign a buyer's agreement, and I'll go into this in detail when we sit down. But theoretically, you may have to pay some or all of my commission. Oh, well, wait a minute, I can't do that. And that's going to be the problem. We're going to end up negotiating my commission with the seller. And are things going to change a whole lot? That remains to be seen. Everybody has an opinion, and I'm not going to throw mine out there because you know what? Everybody that seems to have a crystal ball that they think works, it turns out usually in the end that it doesn't. For the moment, you're not paying me. The seller is paying me. When the new rules kick in and we have to negotiate some of these things, I suspect the seller's still going to be paying me. We'll cross that bridge when we get to it. Next thing, if you're out running around, you're looking around town Sunday afternoon, and you see a for sale by owner sign, I want you to take down the address and the name, the address and the phone number, and call me and let me deal with it. The world's kind of a different place these days. You really don't want to go knocking on people's door saying, hey, I saw your for sale sign there, what's going on? 98% of them are just people that think they're going to save $1 or $2 and they're going to try and sell their house on their own. There's a 2% chance that you're dealing with some interesting folks that you probably don't want to talk to. Let me handle it, and I always make sure I let my clients know that. I don't want anybody door knocking to find out details of a property. That's what you have me for. New home builders, new construction. If you do decide you want to go the new construction route, I'm going to go with you, and we're going to look at the models. I'm going to go with you, and we're going to talk to the builders and the agents and make sure that we get you the best deal possible. There's a sort of an old-timey kind of myth that still exists that, oh, if I go straight to the builder and all that they're going to give me some kind of discount because I'm there without an agent. That could be nothing further from the truth. That's you basically walking into the new car dealership and know nothing about cars. They see you coming and they're going to ring you up. Home builders and the agents that work there, their goal is to sell you a house. So you need representation. And again, that's what you have me for. By the way, the new construction folks also, they pay me. So it seems a little odd. I work for you, but these other people are paying me, the new construction or the seller. But that's the way it is for now. When you're out shopping it, and we're looking at houses, I'm going to ask you point blank, hey, what do you think of this? When we get out of the cars and we're walking towards the house, and I already see in your faces that, oh no, this is not the one. We're going to go look anyway, because I want you to tell me why. What's the problem? What do you hate about this place? What do you like about this place? That's going to help me narrow down what we're looking for. It's going to help me to get a better idea of what exactly you want. As far as like paperwork, contracts, all of that, when we're in the process, I take care of all that, and I can absolutely send you copies of the contracts and everything that we use here in the state of Florida. Every once in a while, I have clients that like to read that kind of thing. Lawyers, doctors, accountants, they want to read all the fine print. The as-is contract in Florida is 13 pages long. If that's your thing, I will send it to you. And if you're having trouble sleeping one night, you can read it. But that's what you have me for again. That's kind of some general overall stuff. And what's next? What everybody wants to know is, how much is this going to cost me? How much money do I have to, have for all the things involved in the process? My down payment, my escrow money, all of those things. That we will talk about, and because it's going to vary on an individual basis depending on what type of loan you have, the price point of the house. It's all going to be subjective as to the property and your particular situation. But just to give you a ballpark idea, so you have some numbers sort of in your head. If we're looking at a $400,000 house, $400,000 house. If we go under contract, okay, we want to buy it. Everybody's agreed that it's going to be $400,000. First thing we're going to do is we're going to deposit escrow money. That's the money that they used to call good faith money. And on a $400,000 house, it's typically 1% is what we've been doing here in Florida, at least in this part of Florida, on a financed deal. Cash deal, we may have to put more down, more in escrow. But for a finance deal, usually 1%. So $400,000 house, $4,000 in escrow. The next thing we do is we get the place inspected. Depending on the house is going to determine how much the inspection is. They go by the size of the house. You're looking somewhere between $600, for everything. I've got videos that explain the inspection process and what all is entailed with that. Figure $600-700. If you have a septic tank, throw in another $400 or $500 because we'll need to get that pumped and inspected. So right up front, $4,000 in escrow, another $700 to $1,100 in inspection. So right off the bat, I'm in for about $5,000. Next thing, if we get through all of that, we get through the inspections and all that, the next thing we're going to do is get the place appraised. Your lender, assuming you're financing, is going to require the place be appraised. They want to make sure that it's worth $400,000, and they get paid to do that. And many times they want paid up front, and an appraisal fee is usually $500–600. Like everything in this world, everything's gone up, but about $500–600. Sometimes you pay that up front, sometimes that can be tacked in with your closing costs. So on the front end of this transaction, we need about $5,000–5,500 just to get all the things rolling, to get everything moving. Now, the rest of the money comes at the closing table, your down payment and your closing costs. So let's start with the down payment. For this example, I'm going to keep it simple. Let's say that you're doing a conventional loan and it's going to be 5% down. 5% is $20,000. $20,000 down payment. Remember, you already put $4,000 in escrow. That just doesn't go away. That's not money that they just keep or disappears. That gets applied towards your down payment. So you've already got some money in there towards that. But basically $20,000 for a 5% down conventional loan. Now, closing costs. What are closing costs? What does all that mean? That's everybody else that's in your pocket. The insurance, the taxes, the documentary stamps, the lender fees, on and on. Everybody else that gets a piece of the pie for doing their job. Closing costs, that varies as well, but a good rule of thumb is 3% of purchase price. So 3% of $400,000 is roughly $12,000. So to pull this off with no help with closing costs, no, you're going to buy this all on your own and you're going to foot the whole bill. Well, you're looking at a $20,000 down payment. You're looking at $12,000 in closing costs, so we're at $32,000, and your inspections and appraisal and all of that. So, $34,000, you can probably pull off a $400,000 house. A lot of things can change. A lot of things can make that number a lot lower. There's also things that can make that higher. But that's a general rule of thumb. Different loans have different down payments that might not be as high. You can probably do it for lower. I will try to negotiate closing costs for you if that's something that you're interested in. We'll talk about all that, but a lot of times I can negotiate all or some of the closing costs. We can also apply closing cost money that we receive towards rate buy downs for you. There's a ton of moving parts that I'm not going to get into right now, but that's the general gist of how much this is going to run you on a $400,000 house. When we sit down to do a buyer consultation, a lot of folks, if you're a first-time buyer, this is all going to be brand new information for you. I don't expect you to remember all of it. Again, that's what you have me for. But what happens is we talk about all this and how it pertains to your situation. You've got a good sort of understanding of, all right, this is the order of things. And then when we're in the middle of it, our talk will come back to you. You'll remember. And one other thing I'm going to tell you, and that I tell all my clients, make sure when you go to closing that the information that you've given me, like your name, is what your identification says. It's funny now. It wasn't funny at the time. I had a young couple. She was pregnant. They were going to close on the house, move in. She was going to have the baby sometime after. That didn't work out. She went into labor and delivered the baby. She was in the hospital 2 days before closing. Some minor complications. They let her out of the hospital the day of closing. So her and her husband show up at the closing table with a newborn, looking like they had been through a war. And I'm like, oh my God, we'll get you out of here. By the way, this is one of my very first real estate transactions. And it was a new construction deal. New construction, the paperwork is just a huge stack of papers and to sign. So we're ready. We're going to do this. I'm like, we'll get you out of here. It'll take about an hour. Her ID had her maiden name on it, and all the paperwork was in her married name. It didn't match. They had to redo all the documents, which took them and deal with the lender and get all of that straightened out, which took another hour. What should have been an hour thing turned into about 3. So I will make sure that everything matches. And that's just my little story about identification and things going a little sideways. But they did close. They still own the home to this day. I still talk to them, and they lived happily ever after to this point. That's kind of it in a nutshell. That's a buyer consultation, the very short version. And when we get together, we'll talk a lot more and in a lot more detail and how it pertains to you and your family in particular. See you guys on the next one.